You can start now.
Thanks, Alex. Welcome, everyone, to the December 7th, 2021 meeting of the Manhattan Community Board 6 Environment and Parks Committee meeting. My name is Kevin O'Keefe, and I am the chair of the aforementioned committee. We do have a couple of members who may be joining. I'm sorry, one member who may be joining us soon. Anton will not be able to make it tonight. But we are joined by Community Associate Alex Crawford and District Manager Jesus Perez. This virtual meeting is called to order right now at 7:02 p.m. New York time. Members of the public, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature on Zoom. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. The committee's vice chair, Jeannie D'Onofrio, has volunteered to take minutes tonight. Thank you, Jeannie. We will now call on everyone for attendance. Alex will conduct the roll call.
Committee members, I will call your name and you will unmute yourselves. When your name is called, please say present. I will announce if there is quorum. Marty Barrett.
Present.
Matt Bondi.
Here.
Claire Brennan.
Present.
Jeannie D'Onofrio.
Present.
Paige Judge. Paige Judge. Anton Malner. Well, we know, yeah, Anton is not going to be here tonight. Raj Nayar.
Present.
Kevin O'Keefe.
Present.
Reshma Patel. Reshma's going to be a few minutes late. Dean Stephanides.
Present.
Mark Thompson.
Present.
Maura Wong.
Present.
And Letty Simon.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Yay. Yeah, yes. The agenda for tonight's meeting was distributed ahead of time by the board office. It appears on the screen right before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda as stated. Members of this committee, if you object to adopting this agenda, please raise your hand virtually. Seeing no objections, this agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The meeting from the, I should say the minutes from the November 3rd committee meeting were distributed ahead of time. If there is no objection, we will adopt these minutes as drafted. And members of the committee, if you object to adopting these minutes, you may raise your hand through Zoom. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the November 3rd meeting are adopted, and we will soon have them available on the CB6 website. Now, to conduct an efficient meeting, let's observe a few ground rules. 1, no one may speak until granted the floor. 2, committee members with a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand through Zoom. 3, the chat function should never be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be said on record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us of any technical difficulties you are having, or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. Number 4, when a committee member is given the floor to speak, I will identify you and you can unmute yourself so that you may speak. 5th and last, we were required by New York State law to have a transcript of the meeting, so please keep your questions and comments succinct and germane to the discussion. I will certainly try to do the same. Agenda item number 1 tonight is a presentation by the Stuyvesant Park Neighborhood Association. Now, last month, we started an initiative to reach out to hear directly from each community group in the district to inquire about what they see as the needs of their community when it comes to the scope of this committee, that is environment, parks, landmarks, and cultural affairs. This month's featured group is the Stuyvesant Park Neighborhood Association, and representing the park with a presentation in a few moments is Phyllis Mangles. Now, as I said to a few of you at the top of this call, last week I had the pleasure of seeing Phyllis in Stuyvesant Square as the Parks Department raised 2 trees for the holidays, one in the East Park and one in the West. I think, do we have a photo, Alex? I snapped a photo when I was there. I just wanted to remind everybody what the place looks like, especially with the tree up. We can wait for that. There are related activities to this tree, including a lighting ceremony this Sunday evening and a Christmas Eve caroling event And those events and the trees are in place thanks to the association, one of the many wonderful things that it does. Phyllis Mangles, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your giving me the time to address the committee again. 3 months ago, I addressed the committee for the first time on several issues related to the park. 2 of those issues were the erratic garbage collection of the trash from 2nd Avenue, which, thanks to great efforts by Sheena, our new district manager, have become much more regular, and that's been a big help. The second issue was the infestation of the park by rats due to the erratic pickup of the garbage. And that situation persists to this day. Back in October 7th and 8th, the exterminators did come to the park, and they were there in the East Park and the West Park. And they used the new technology that the parks is using. I don't think it's dry ice. I think it's the other carbon. One's carbon dioxide, one's carbon monoxide. And there's a special piece of equipment that they need for this. So they came on the 7th and the 8th. And I think at the last meeting I mentioned, they found 300 rat holes in the West Park alone. I was never able to get a count for the East Park. They have not been back since. And at the last meeting, I think there was a general consensus that when the situation was that bad, that a regular visit by the exterminator was required. So that was October. We're now at December 7th. So that's 2 months ago. So basically, that really makes that visit pretty useless, because we know how the rats procreate very quickly. Getting to the bottom line of the problem is, and this has been the situation for many years, Parks only has one exterminator for all of Manhattan parks. One exterminator and one piece of this equipment that I understand everybody wants in their parks because it's proving to be so useful. So I'm here before the committee to see if there's anything that the community board can do to get more money in the budget, have parks put a higher priority on this and allocate more funds from their budget. A couple of months ago, I did speak to Carlina's office. They were going to be meeting with parks in regard to the budget. And I said, please ask them to allocate more funding for at least one more exterminator. I don't know if that's even enough, and they said they would think about it, but they wouldn't give any commitment. So I think it's time, in light of this new, from New York, I guess the state passed this, not a bill, but what was it, Kevin, a referendum, a healthful environment. We're entitled to a healthful environment. You can't have a healthful environment if you have rats running around your park. We have volunteer gardeners who are in the park two days a week, and they're stumbling on all these rat holes. And we have events in the summer, and before it's even dark out, the rats are running around. It's a very unhealthy, mentally and physically situation. And the only way it's going to be addressed is if there's more money dedicated to it. So that's the first topic.
Yeah, just to fill everybody, sorry, I promise to just take a minute to fill everybody in. Phyllis was referring to the environmental rights passage that will add the right to clean water clean air, and a healthful environment to the New York State Constitution's Bill of Rights. That did pass. It goes into effect in January. New Yorkers will now have the enforceable right to of what I just mentioned. This will require lawmakers to consider the impact on clean water, clean air, and the environment when making decisions. And lastly, it also allows New Yorkers to sue if they believe their rights to clean water, clean air, and a healthful environment are being violated. Sorry, Phyllis, you have the floor again.
No, that's okay. And so my thing is this just words, or is there going to be some, strength behind that new piece of legislation that was passed? In speaking to Friends Seminary and St. George's, they've both seen an uptick in vermin problems, and they both have their own exterminators who come on a regular basis. And I myself, 2 weeks ago in the middle of the day, saw a rat running across the pathway. So it is a problem. But going on from there, and I pointed this out to Kevin when we were walking around, and he was really generous with his time. I really appreciated him listening to me, and I think we agreed on a lot of things. The park situation is one part of the problem. Right outside the park or all along 3rd Avenue, we have these archaic metal grid garbage cans that are just feasts for the rats. They're open on the sides, they're open on the top. And, when they get filled up, it falls over to the street. And this is a buffet for the rats. And it's not just our neighborhood, it's every neighborhood. I see occasionally closed garbage cans, I saw some even from the Department of Sanitation. I was looking at a couple on 3rd Avenue today, but then there's ones that the business improvement districts provide. Some places like Flatiron, I've seen them. I've seen something from Council District 2, I think it said on the side, but I don't understand. This is the 21st century, why New York City has these horrible garbage cans that we have to see and smell in the summer, the garbage all summer long. And I think it needs also to be a priority, because if you fix one thing in the park, you have the street situation. So it has to be a holistic approach to the situation of garbage in the city. And
Yes.
It's not right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that I know, and I know she might be driving, so I don't want to call her out here, but Sheena Kaufman is on here. It just happened to be our discussion, our chat conversation this morning was about rats. I do know that the Big Belly receptacles are effective. And I know your association actually spent some money to put one in the park. Is that correct?
We put several in the park.
Well, they're about $3,000 a piece, I believe.
I think there were about 2,500. The problem with the big.
Sorry, let's give Sheena Kaufman the floor. We appreciate you being here, Sheena. Go ahead.
Hey, well, the big penalties are effective. There are several big bellies. They range from 3,000 to about nearly 10. It depends on what you're getting. They do avoid the rodents. They're very effective, but they also get filled and stuffed. And once they're damaged, they're extremely expensive to replace. The parts, but they are effective. But Phyllis is right. It has to be a collective thing. People have to realize with rats, wherever there's food, there's going to be rats. And
Well, you're breaking up, Sheena. I think I can try to fill in between the lines.
capabilities of doing that.
Oh, there you go. You're back.
Right. We don't have the capabilities of doing, weekly, extermination. So in one point, Phyllis is correct. It almost is mute if we can't do this all the time. We just don't have the budget to be able to
You're right,
address.
there's the budget. I know the Adams administration it says it's going to increase or try to the parks budget for 0.9% of the city budget to at least 1%. That can make a difference. We obviously not now, but going forward for next year, we do have a hand in budget requests. So this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk to all the neighborhood associations to find out what we should be prioritizing next year, because, and I'll take the blame for that, having joined this committee as chair late last year, want more of a head start in thinking about what we should be asking budget-wise. So thank you for that. And I know, Sheena, we spoke this morning about there are rodent repellent bags. That's a good thing. Garbage bags. The bad thing is the smell on those things needs to be improved for the enjoyment of the general public. Is that accurate?
That's my thing. I found people, it's annoying to the rodents, but then it's bad for the people. So people are smelling mint, and the mint gets on their hands, and so a lot of areas stopped using them because it was a problem with people touching it. Then then their hands are filled with mint. Then you got to wash real strong to get the scent out. So it's a gift and a curse, I should say, because it works for one thing.
There's some engineer out there that can come up with, that's our next big breakthrough invention. Good spelling rat.
So, but we're gonna really try our best to do as much as we can to reduce, to make sure we have more frequent garbage pickups, especially at our big locations. Just to help. That's the best that I can do. And until they can get more exterminators on board with the parks, that's about the best that I can do.
Thank you, Sheena. And Phyllis, thank you. And one of the reasons also this is so important, I really want the entire committee to hear about your concerns. And we're going to stay on this, like you'll find out soon, like we're staying on the last month's presenter, the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association. So we thank you. What I'd like to do now is open it up. If any committee members do have any questions for Phyllis about the area, and just to keep in mind, even though we talk a lot about the park, Stuyvesant Square, the Stuyvesant Park Neighborhood Association defines its community area as East 14th Street north to East 23rd Street, and from Stuyvesant Town west toward Irving Place and Gramercy Park. So keep that in mind. Jeannie D'Onofrio, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you. I have a question about the rodent situation. So Tompkins Square Park is not in our district, but a few years back, maybe just 2 years ago, that was a rat infestation. I mean, you literally can walk down the street in daylight and they'd be chasing my little dog. And I have a rat terrier who's afraid of those rats, but those rats are now gone. I mean, they were literally in the playgrounds. They were successful in that program. How come we cannot duplicate their success? Was it because there's just not enough exterminators to stay on this? What has changed where Tompkins Square Park is so successful in eradicating the situation, but yet in our district, we just don't seem to have the resources to make this happen?
I could probably answer a portion of that.
Sorry, go ahead, Sheena. You have the floor.
I think Tompkins Square might be receiving probably some different funds, and someone might be coming to exterminate that area, constantly. That could be someone that's doing that. Private funds might be allocated for that, so they can address that issue. But we only have one, maybe two exterminators, maybe two. I know only one of them that I see constantly. And I don't know if he's at Tompkins Square every day, because he wouldn't be able to go nowhere else. So they private funds might be, taking care of that situation and helping with that problem. So it just goes down to funding and how often, we can get someone to exterminate the area. Having someone privately come and do it, it's helpful, but it's costly. It takes a lot of funds to be able to do that.
Is there any way we can figure out, or you could share with us how much it costs for these projects?
I can ask Tompkins Square, the Alliance there. I can ask them and see what they're doing and
Yeah,
get
that
back
would be
to
great. I mean,
and get
if
back
we
to
can raise
Community Board
funds on
6.
our end, if there's this way we can do
Okay.
it, I don't know.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeannie. I really want to get, not this meeting necessarily, but I do want to talk about down the road private funds and what we think about those, because there are companies out there that are getting more into sustainability and they want to know what to spend their dollars. Marty Barrett, you have the floor.
We used to have a rat czar. Councilmember Perkins became the first rat czar when I was a member of the borough board, and he would report this. So this is the turn of the century, as it were. And we did have a few. I think Joe Loza was the last rat czar, but that's several years ago. And the city really took it very seriously by having a specific position for it. The current administration, I guess, had other issues that they were dealing with, but the position has not been filled for a while.
Thank you. Good to know. I did not know the history, that full history. Do we have any questions? I don't see any more raised hands. Do we have any members of the public? We should check out Q&A. And Alex, I know you're keeping me honest on those too. I do not see any, so we can thank Phyllis again. Phyllis, we will stay on this. You know, this committee appreciates it. As you know, my email phone is always open if you have to relay any concerns. And we hope some people can make it to the tree lighting this weekend. It should be a lot of fun. And then the Christmas caroling on Christmas Eve as well. So
Thank you for the promotion.
Sure. Thank you. Thanks for being here tonight. We're going to move on to agenda item number 3. Agenda number 2 is what we just did, the Q&A. Agenda item next is the report on the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association requests. I do see Michael Ann Rowe here. Thank you for coming. Last month, Michael Ann, who is the chair of the Murray Hill Neighborhood Association Clean and Green Committee, prioritized for her community finding a way to quicken the process for removing wooden tree guards that are placed around the street side trees during construction. The concern from many Murray Hill businesses and residents is that the guards turn into trash receptacles, and it can cause things like rodents. We have worked with the association to let it know the pressure that construction companies feel to comply with the tree guards. The following is from the New York City Parks, directly from the New York City Parks, quote, "No cutting or otherwise damaging of tree roots is permitted. Any and all tree work must be permitted. Tree work performed absent a permit can result in civil or criminal sanctions. Violations are punishable by a fine not to exceed $15,000 and/or imprisonment for up to 1 year," unquote. So obviously there's pressure on the construction companies to put those guards up. They will always do so. That said, Councilmember Rivera's office has addressed the tree guards with DDC and reports back that the tree guards are on track to coming down soon. We thank Katie and Councilmember Rivera for that. But what happens if there is a major project like there is in Murray Hill with some 100 or more wooden tree guards still up, even though the phase of construction is done on some of those stretches of street? Again, thanks to the community advocacy of Michael Ann Rowe and the collaboration of the council member's office, the council member's office did indeed push DDC to complete one area of the project early with a street restoration and removing the guards before the total project is complete. Now, I know I don't want to put you on the spot, Michael Ann, but you could either jump in to correct anything I said or to give me any other update I'm unaware of for this full committee. So if we can give Michael Ann the floor. And you
Hi,
can
thank you very much,
great,
Kevin. I
thank you.
really appreciate you bringing it up. I guess the update is what you said. I think I interpreted that last note from Katie Logue from Caroline's office that she's looking into them removing the guards quicker. And just to reiterate, they have become hazardous garbage pits that even, you know, Grand Central and the Ace guys cannot get into, having a hard time getting into, and they become real eyesores to the community. And I question the actual meaning for these tree guards to be up in the first place, because they seem to be doing the opposite of protecting the trees. There's got to be another solve. I just feel like it's it didn't happen. And you know, the Parks Department did not watch over this. The construction company did not watch over this, because they've shifted. There's graffiti all over them, and some are spilling into the cafes. So it's just a mess, and they look really bad. And I've just been pushing to get them taken down, especially where the project has been complete, instead of coming back to us with, everything has to be done in order for them to take them down. But they've clearly not done the job that they were supposed to do, and that is to protect the trees.
And that's an important point that we addressed at last meeting, but thank you for bringing it back around. I do think, and again, I'm not expecting anything at this meeting. I think more research needs to be done and to see how this rest goes. But I think these are the type of things we should at least consider. It's up to the committee whether we want to pass a resolution on, because if it truly is, you know, hurting the community, if it truly is hurting the trees, we really should seriously about stepping in and trying to change things with the cooperation of, in this case, council member's office, who has been terrifically responsible by being responsive to everything, right, that we've said, and that Michael Ann has said. Correct? Am I overplaying their concern here, or do you? It's okay. You can push back if you don't believe that, but I think they have been responsive. It just haven't got to the point where you have gotten them removed. Correct?
Yes, that's correct. And you know, after we did our walk around with Karen Flores and her senior, the head of the construction that's been going on, he clearly, you know, admitted that they were doing harm to the trees, and they were unsightly. And also, but it's his, I think it's over his watch too, that they were supposed to be watched and cleaned out by the construction company. And that has not been done. So,
and there was some concern, there was some confusion about who really was responsible, Parks Department or DDC, and that is an area too that could be potential resolution. Again, just like we said to Phyllis, we do not want to let this go. I'm sorry you're having to deal with this in Murray Hill. We all have to pass those 100 tree guards and all the trash inside and see what they're doing to the trees, especially around places like PS 116 where the kids see this graffiti on there, and it's you know, it's a quality of life issue that we need to address. So anybody from the committee have any questions on this follow-up from last month? And if not, I'm certainly willing to see if there's any Q&As from the community. Okay, thank you, Michael Ann. Again, we'll stay in touch on this and keeping the hammer on. All right. Now, to update you on what group we may hear from at our next meeting, we have invited both the Gramercy Park Neighborhood Association and the Gramercy Park Block Association to present in the future to better understand each of its wants and desires. That takes us to item number 4 on the agenda, discussion of the Gramercy Park deed and tax assessment. Now, as noted in the previous meeting, through the work of this committee, we have a copy of the original 5-page Gramercy Park deed of December 17th, 1831. Yes, it will be 190 years ago next week. This original deed to the city contains cartography, a map that shows 66 lots. Alex, I know you have a copy. If we can put that on the screen just to give you one of the 5 pages. There it is. That was created through the efforts of Samuel Ruggles, the owner of that property in 1831. In our lifetimes, owners of the 66 lots have long been mentioned as having exclusive access to the park. Now, 6 of those 1831 lots are now city street space, as you'll see, Irving Place and Lexington Avenue. Now, members of our community have questions about the deed for the Gramercy Park trustees, including why past and or present trustees changed some of the properties whose owners can gain access to the park. We have reached out to the trustee, who is the president of the Gramercy Park Block Association, who has been at previous CB6 meetings on other matters. Now, since December, actually since last month, November 18th, we have reached out to her on multiple dates, and we copied additional board members on that correspondence. Now, two things we informed these representatives. In part, the invitation to this meeting reads, quote, "The committee has reviewed its copy of the 1831 Gramercy Park deed and has some questions about this as it relates to the city and about remarks by the mayor about the property tax status of Gramercy Park key holders," unquote. Now, as of this evening, we've received no response from the trustees or the Gramercy Park Block Association. Now, we represent the voices here of everyone in this community. This is really important for me to repeat. I know I've done this at previous meetings. Everyone, we amplify their voices. This includes both those who believe the city should reduce the number of private parks in Manhattan from the one it now has, yes, Gramercy Park, to 0, and also those who believe the park should keep the public out. Among those who have access to the park are multiple CB6 members. We want to give the Gramercy Park trustees the opportunity to explain the deed and the tax status. Samuel Ruggles, as I mentioned, who issued the deed to the city about his park, proclaimed of the deed, quote, "Free, glorious open space will remain to bless the city forever," unquote. He deeded the land to the city with the agreement that Parkside residents would be appropriately taxed to maintain the park. Now, in 2018, the mayor said that he would reassess a certain matter. That was his word, reassess. The mayor said a 1910 court decision that Gramercy Park claims gives it a special tax-free status as a private open green space would be reassessed. Now, to comply with that court decision, property values for those with keys to Gramercy Park are supposed to be considerably higher than their neighbors. The reason they don't have to pay a tax on the parkland, except the aforementioned research concluded that the assumed higher payments appeared to not, I repeat, not be the case. The Department of Finance could not confirm that it is assessing the value of Gramercy Park in the key holders' property taxes. Now, I have heard from a reporter that did some extensive property records research with the conclusion by that reporter that the tax-free parameters appear to have been not in compliance for years. So here we are. What does this committee do? Again, we represent our full community, all of our community members, including Gramercy Park key holders. We don't need to act on this tonight, as we could wait a bit more to see if we hear back from the Block Association. If we do not, I plan to bring this up in the next executive committee meeting about some options we have to help secure answers on our own. That meeting is set for December 15th. As for before then, question is, do we, as one person suggested, write a letter to the mayor about this delayed move towards a reassessment? Do we wait until the new administration is in place? Do we take another path? I will leave this to the committee, as I will continue to handle the invitation to the Gramercy Park representatives to provide answers to this committee. I think it's important to note that their answers may be satisfying to the committee and that may end this discussion, but we don't know if we don't hear from them. If any committee members would like to have the floor, please virtually raise your hand. If not, I'll move on to any public questions. Yes, Marty Barrett, thank you. You have the floor.
This is a lame duck administration. There's no sense in starting anything here now. This isn't a time-sensitive issue. This has been going on for years. It might take a couple of years for us to get this resolved anyway, but to wait until there's a new park commissioner, et cetera, would kind of make sense.
Okay, thank you. Good input. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I do see Q&A again. Alex, if you could help me, I'm going to try to open it up so I can read it. I cannot see the questions, although I will try to open it up. Can you see any Q&As? And if you do, and who is the person asking? Jesus, go ahead. You have the floor.
Kevin, that Q&A pertains to another matter, so maybe you can address it once this matter has been brought to a close.
Okay, fair enough. And I'll try to access it. Okay.
Additionally, just as a point of information, the office did reach out to our liaison at the mayor's office last week to ask if in fact there was any update on this reassessment that was spoken about by the mayor, and sent that person a copy of the article in which it is reported that this statement was made. We have yet to hear back, and as was alluded to before, with them packing up the shop, it may not be something that we hear back on, but we will follow up, and it's a start.
Thank you. And again, we're neutral here. We just want to make sure. We think it would be malpractice. I'll speak for myself. I think it would be malpractice as a community board not to have gotten a copy of this deed and to hearing about this property research and not following up on it. It's not the way that we work, is by just letting things go. So we do need answers. I do see that there's somebody on here that's associated, one of the registrants with the Gramercy Park Block Association, but I will not call that person out. But thank you for listening in. Because the name matches, if that is a person, we would like to hear from the Gramercy Block Association. So if you could let the rest of your colleagues know that, we would appreciate it. Again, thanks for joining us. Okay, let's move on. This morning, I was at, as I mentioned, a park space that was closed to the general public for, by some accounts, 117 years. That's before it was opened in October through the work of this committee in NYC Parks. This morning there, I did enjoy running into, as I mentioned, Sheena and her associate Cece. As most or all of us now know, Sheena is the new district manager for CB6 Parks. The garden of which I speak is St. Martin Park Garden. Last Thursday was the start of an initiative a member of this committee started with Partnership for Parks for volunteers to help NYC Parks keep the St. Martin lawn and garden thriving. This came out of the second meeting that Partnership for Parks held about the formation of a Friends Of type group for either the garden or the full park or possibly a broader area to kind of replace the orphan Friends of St. Martin Park. Now, for each weekday morning through at least February from 8:45 to at least 9, at least one person is booked to be there to keep the area tidy, including cleaning up any items and handling any needed raking. The Parks Department, thank you, Sheena, has been supplying all the necessary tools. I do see that she registered for the meeting. I do want to give a big shout out to Lisa DeVito, who has long worked with the St. Martin Preschool on keeping the garden thriving. It was wonderful to see Elisa there more than one morning since the initiative started. Personally, I appreciate the gardening tips she has shared, and I look forward to more. In addition, Alliance for Kips Bay reports that it has gardeners that are willing to help NYC Parks to plant and maintain plantings in the garden. Now, the 3 months of the garden initiative should give all interested enough time to create the Friends Of type group and a plan for the garden for the spring and beyond. The third development meeting for that proposed group is coming after the holidays. 2 people I see who are registered for this meeting, not just Elisa, but also Juniper Shea, have been very insightful in those meetings, and we thank them. In a previous committee meeting, the Parks Department announced that the garden would be open to all starting on October 8th for a 2-month trial period. It did open on that date as promised. That 2-month window ends tomorrow. Now, in a few moments, Sheena will be giving the park's monthly report to this committee. I hope, as part of that report, she can let us know if the garden has successfully passed its 2-month public audition and qualified for a permanent role in this city for everyone to enjoy. So for agenda item number 5, report from the NYC Department of Parks and Recreation, Sheena Kaufman, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. So I have some good and bad news. Yes, we will be closing the garden in 2 weeks and then we're gonna open it back up in the spring. I got the word from Steve today that that's what we're going to do.
This is Steve Simon.
And yes, I'm sorry if everybody doesn't know. Steve Simon, he's the chief of staff for the borough of Manhattan. So yes, in 2 weeks we are, for the winter, and then we're reopening in April, which is spring. Okay. So I have a couple of capital updates. Mary O'Connor and Tudor Grove Playgrounds. The lower bid is being vetted to determine whether the contract could be awarded to them. For Bellevue South Park, the lower bid has been found, accepted, and the contract should be awarded shortly. For Albano Playground, we are preparing contract documents for rebidding on that project for Albano. For regarding, if Ms. Phyllis is still here, regarding the Stuyvesant park houses, when our workers went inside, they found there was more damage than they thought it was, and they're unable to make the necessary repairs to it. So they have to remain closed until we are able to get it evaluated through our capital division. So we are unable to make the necessary changes, repairs inside the park house. So we have to keep it closed until then. And that's about it. If anybody have any questions, I can answer.
Yes, and before I go, Phyllis, I do see your hand raised. We'll go to you in a second. Let's go to St. Martin Garden. Can you share any reasoning behind that? And with this initiative started to be their volunteer group every morning, was that put on pause now? Or do we still come in to help the garden thrive during the winter?
I don't see that stopping your initiative of coming to do so in the morning time. I don't see that being a problem. I'll speak it over with Steve to see if that we can still remain out. And Ashley, Steve and Ashley and I will go over that to see if we can still keep that initiative going, and so we don't lose the momentum there, of that. But I think that it was the borough's decision to do that, and that's all. I don't know anything extra to kind of say. I guess that's the way the borough was going. But the good news is that we're going to reopen it in April.
That's
So
wonderful. Does that mean permanent in April? Does that mean permanent going forward?
I don't know. It might be just they're going to open it from April to winter, and then just close it for the winter, and then reopen it. That seems like the way it's going, but I can't tell you that for sure.
Okay.
And it might change. It might change in April, and with other conversations being going across from us to the commission and from the community board, that might change. So I'm not going to say that that's a permanent thing, but that's looking the way that it was going. So it's not a full thing that is shut. So we're opening back up in April.
Does that mean that the preschool during those down months will have access to it? Will any not private, but any closed exclusionary groups have access?
I don't have no knowledge. I have no knowledge of that even taking place at all. Nothing is being brought up about the preschool at all. So I don't know that. I don't know if that's involved with that at all.
I do know it's not in. I know it's not in session this year. Okay, I do think this committee certainly has a role in what happens next. I think, and I'm not going to suggest even tonight, but I do think a suggested resolution down the road could be the way to go. If we all believe that the garden should be for everyone, from the spring on. But again, let's give Phyllis the floor. Excuse me.
Thank you. Sheena, can you just go over the situation with the park house again? Because I'd like to know in whose hands this is right now. Is it, you said capital projects or?
Well, no, it's in that. Well, we have to have our capital team look at it, because our regular tradesman is just not able to make the necessary repairs that's needed for the building. So it's beyond their scope of work.
Right. So
Right,
the
so then they
capital,
cannot do it.
so it's in the hands of the capital team.
Well,
To-
we have referred it to them for them to look at to see if they're maybe able to get monies to make the necessary repairs. But the team that we have that we use on a daily basis, our regular shops, tradesmen, they're just not capable of doing it. So it's deeper than what they can, the work that they can do. So if capital is coming in, that means it needs to be, funds need to be raised for someone privately to come in and take care of the problem. Our tradesmen cannot do that.
Right. So the capital team, is there a timeline for them to come in and take a look?
I don't have that information. I don't know, but I'm sure that Steve is working on that. I'm sure he is. I'm quite sure that he is. I don't know if he's going to do it by this year, but I'm sure that's something that they're going to look in, early next year.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Phyllis, for the question. I do have access now to my Q&A with the help of my reading glasses as well. We do have a couple comments. I want to make sure that they are read. Let's see. Okay, that's about Michael Ann getting on. We got that. That's taken care of. Anja Hitzenberger, and if I mispronounce your name, my apologies, writes, the only time I've ever experienced the Gramercy Park open to the public was on 9/11/01 for one single day. What a sad fact that is. Please free this jailed park. We also have a comment from David Saul. He says, can we get a date in April, that St. Martin's Garden will reopen? Do we have a specific date, Sheena?
I don't have a specific date. I don't. He just said in April. And I guess maybe the spring when it. Yeah, I don't have a specific date. I don't see that the commissioner and our chief of staff is going to go back on their word of when they say April. So whenever spring arrives, I don't know the day of spring. I don't have a calendar right now, but I'm sure it's going to be in April, and I'm sure that the chief, our chiefs and our commissioner is very they understand everyone's concerns about discarding. They're very, 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 very fully aware of that. So if he said April, I'm sure he's going to keep on track on what he said. I'm sure he'll do that.
This is Bill Castro, the commissioner of Manhattan.
Yes. Manhattan Borough Commissioner.
And I appreciate that. In jest, I will say, I hope it's not April 1st, because then there might be some other motive there. Sorry. I had to say it. We do have a couple more comments. Michael Ann Rowe says, be good to create a nice event for the spring opening. Oh, good idea. It says it's my park event. Happy to help keep it clean during winter. Love that. The David Saul writes, love that idea, Michael. Ann. David and I think alike. And then Michael Ann writes, thanks. This might be a private conversation between you, but I'm reading it anyway. It says, thanks, maybe it tie in your event. And David Saul does do an event that he helps with a cleanup event every fall. Letty Simon, you have the floor.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that you're answering questions for people that are doing things in chat, which is not to be used for that. And there are a series of questions in Q&A.
And I can't access those. I'm sorry, I thought those were Q&A.
No,
that's
that was
fine,
chat.
but everything is.
So I don't want people to be left out. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Letty. I appreciate that. I cannot, somebody can help me with the Q&A side. I appreciate it. And everything here is open meetings. If it's in chat, that's okay. It should still be public. Go ahead.
So I can help you out. We have a couple questions that are relatively similar. So one is, what is the contact and timing for the Friends of Group meeting? What was the criteria for the test? Can you please restate this? And another one is, how do we get involved with the maintenance for St. Martin's? Where can we find more information?
Okay, so for the, sorry, I was reading another one. For the Partnership for Parks, you can let Ashley at Partnership for Parks, or you can let me know. I can certainly make sure that gets around. The first meeting, second meeting had a lot more people than the first meeting, so you could always join in progress. That's fine. And that's the best place to discuss how this group is being developed and come together. We see, I had read something for David Saul. David actually was one of those in the meeting. I do see that Antonella is on the call. She's been in that meeting. And some other people that are on this call as well have been. Juniper Shea's on here, I see. She's been in that meeting. Let me know. Let the CB6 office know that you want to be part of that, or let Ashley know at Partnership for Parks. Did that answer your question? I'm sorry, I was a bit misdirected because I was reading something in chat that was directed at me, I believe. Alex, I'll let you, there's some more stuff in chat as well. I'll let you read what you think should be read. And here we go. My Q&A just opened. So if you want, I can take it over. Lily asks, this is what you had just read. I think you read the book, well, then David Saul talked about the April date. Is that all that you see, Alex? Is those 3 questions?
There are 4 other open questions, if you'd like me to read them.
Yeah, or I can. I see him now. It says, hello, this is Soki Lee and Ken Gray. We are founders of NYC Clean Volunteers. Hey, welcome aboard. We have organized a core group of concerned citizens who go out to the streets regularly to pick up trash in the neighborhoods of Rose Hill, Gramercy Park, Flatiron, and East Village. You guys are great, thanks. Ken picks up every morning from 6:30 to 7:30 at Bellevue South Park. Please advise who we can talk to regarding our efforts. We have been funding our own equipment, safety vests, supplies, etc. We have insights and ideas for being on the streets. We need help from community leaders to help with publicity so we can attract even more volunteers. We need funding for bags, equipments, receptacles, etc. Please contact us. Soki, Ken, we will contact you. Personally, if you want to chat, I'm in the St. Martin Garden every weekday through February, hopefully, from 8:45 to at least 9. You can find me there, or we'll capture your phone number and I'll reach out to you. Thank you. Thank you for all the good work that you do. It's very important. Amy writes, having a place like St. Martin's that is safe and clean for toddlers is a positive. Toddlers are also constituents, very underserved. Yes, there are now more toddlers that have access to the garden since it's been open. So I'm sure you're happy about that. Jessica writes, why is the garden treated differently from other parks and green spaces? We don't close Central Park, Madison Square Park, and others during the winter. Yeah, same question I have, Jessica. And the same question I posed to Sheena to hopefully ask Steve Simon and Commissioner Castro. We would like to have some answers on that. Thank you for your question. Is that it? Alex, I believe that's it.
Yeah, there was another question about why not give the time and date now, but I believe that was answered.
Yeah, I think if Steve was here or Commissioner Castro, they might be able to. I think it's putting Sheena in a difficult position where she would tell us if she knew, but she does not. So I don't think we're going to find out at this meeting, but we will try to follow up as soon as we can afterward.
Kevin, I'm sorry, since you made reference to Ashley's email, would you like me to post that in the chat for everyone?
Yes, thank you. This is for anybody interested in being a part of this group. And it doesn't have to be just the garden. We're looking for a group that maybe is interested in all of the park, including what's going on 2nd Avenue with pickleball and handball and basketball and the new turf and the open street that happened, working with Alliance for Kips Bay. There's a lot of opportunities here to be part of this community. Thank you. So look for that in chat. Also, any questions or comments from the committee? We've asked about the public. I do not see any hands raised. So I will move on to Chair's report. I'm happy to share the news that Sutton Place South Clara Coffee Park between 53rd and 54th Streets did reopen yesterday. This ends the first phase of the construction of the flyover, which will provide bike and pedestrian access to the greenway being built on the East River. To celebrate this reopening, all are invited to the Sutton Place Parks Conservancy ribbon cutting ceremony next Tuesday. Councilmember Powers and Councilmember-elect Menon are among those planning to attend. The event on Tuesday is scheduled to start at 2 p.m. Moving on to old and new business. If any member of this committee has any old or new business, please virtually raise your hand. I'll give you a few moments.
Evan, while you're waiting, there is one more question in the Q&A from Ms. Lily Nguyen. Can I connect with Ken regarding Bellevue South Park? Perhaps they mean Kevin?
Yeah, if you want, I don't mind giving out my personal email. If you want to do that, or if you want, or Ashley's emails that there. It's KEVOKEEFE, kevokeefe@gmail.com. Is that the question that just wants to make sure she can get in touch with somebody?
Yes.
Okay. We'll get you directed to the right person. And obviously info@cb6.org is always a great place to send any requests, the district office. Marty Barrett has the floor.
No, I don't.
Oh, that was from before?
Yeah.
All right.
Oops.
Okay, have we heard and read any comments from the public before I move on to a potential adjournment?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
It does appear there's one last question getting in right under the wire.
Oh, okay.
It's in the chat. I think they're having a technical issue with the Q&A function, but it's from Michael Ann Rowe. She writes, what about the Agave Cafe suspect of an open space?
Oh, are you talking about 33rd and 3rd? She has panelist status. Do you want to just jump on quickly, Michael Ann? And
Yeah, it's my apology, everybody, for putting these things in the chat. So yeah, there was just suspects recently. Well, not suspect. There's a sign on it that said that the public can sit there and does not have to order a drink. This is the absolute a cafe that's right next to Agave's, restaurant. So they've enclosed all of the space that what used to be, I think, was a park for people to sit. So we want to look into that as an open space again. I mean, and obviously they've abused their space. That's another subject, and we're working on that. But really, as of late, we've just kind of been flagged on, is this an open space? So we'd like to find out for sure if that's a public park space.
it might be a privately owned public space, a POPs. We can check that out on the list. Does anybody have any beat on that potential situation? I'm sorry, I don't have an update for you, Michael Ann, but I am going to make sure we check it out.
Kevin, I can confirm, this is Rajesh, I can confirm it is a POP because there is the signage on the sides and everything that mentioned that it's available and open to the public, but it's also like extends over to the salon. There's the hair salon that's next to it. But you're right, for restaurant purposes, it seems like the utilization of the space is primarily and solely for the restaurant. I don't see anybody sitting there who's not, eating at the establishment.
This is important because I know we've gone down the POPs road and we haven't talked about it every meeting. We need to do something. Michael Ann, I know we have not with you, but a walk through to another place in Murray Hill about another Pops on Lexington Avenue, we can make sure that we can hopefully tandem that and check that situation out during that same visit and then follow up with the ownership.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. I know that was something you had mentioned recently. If nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn? Oh, Phyllis has a question.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to go back and make a comment about the big bellies because SPNA bought several big bellies for Stuyvesant Square Park. And yes, they are rat proof, but, and I think Sheena alluded to this also, they fill up very, very quickly. So if they are not changed, even in Stuyvesant, which it doesn't get that much heavy traffic. I mean, it gets busy in the summer. Sometimes it has to be changed twice a day. I have gone over to Tompkins Square Park early in the morning, and they have big bellies, and they are stuffed to the gills, and the garbage is just sitting on the side. So it sort of defeats the purpose because when they get filled up, people have nowhere to put the trash, so they leave it next to the big belly. So maybe there's larger big bellies than what we have at Stuyvesant. I know ours were about $2,500 when we bought them, but that was several years ago. So it's just a point I wanted to make that yes, they're rat resistant, but you have to be able to have staff to maintain them and change them. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a garbage dump next to the big belly. It happens even in Stuyvesant.
Gotcha. Thank you. Unless Sheena has any, and I think you sort of addressed this already, Sheena, that we can look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Does not need seconded, but thank you anyway.
Nice.
This meeting is formally adjourned at 8:04 p.m. And happy holidays to all. And also Alexandra will end the live stream both via the Zoom app and on the YouTube back end.